Bradford City continue their 2024-25 league campaign with a home clash against Stuart, Maynard and Notts County. And in today's video, you're going to find out how both teams have gotten so far this season, what my starting 11 would be for this game if I was Graham Alexander. If you do go on to enjoy, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 100 likes as always would be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Now, I'm recording this match preview before the Doncaster versus Salford game tonight. We are going to do a watch along for that game, so make sure to check that out. Obviously, if you're watching it after the league table, might look slightly different, but my team Bradford City at this moment in time, we do currently sit second in the League 2 table. After 42 matches, we've got 21 wins, 10 draws and 11 defeats, scoring 58 goals and also conceding at 39, which leaves us on a positive 19 goal difference and at 73 points. Our last couple of matches then have been a loss, a win, a loss, a draw and a win, so pretty inconsistent form for us at the moment. Just 7 points picked up out of our last possible 15 available. But our last couple of matches then have been that dramatic 5-4 defeat away at Swindon Town. If you've not already checked out the matchday vlog from Saturday, then make sure to go do so. One of my favourites that I have put together. Callum Kavanagh scoring a first half hat-trick. Richie Smallwood's red card, obviously a massive game changer. There's an argument Harry Smith should be sent off before he eventually makes it 4-4, and then he's actually offside when Jack Shepherd is forced to play the ball and it ends up in the back of his own net. So again, done by some really poor refereeing decisions. I do think it is a red card, but if the challenge on Smallwood is a red card, then why is the one on Patterson in the previous week against Crewe not also a red card? But great fighting spirit, fair play to all the other players apart from Smallwood, because he really did let us down in that game, and obviously he's now going to be missing for the next 3 matches. We also had a 2-0 win at home to Crewe Alexandra. Bobby Poynton scoring our fastest ever EFL goal. What better man to do that than a boyhood Bradford City fan? Sam Walker with a brilliant penalty save as well in the first half. They scored a goal in the second half, which was then ruled to be offside, which didn't need to be offside, but it definitely was when Bogle did tap in, and Callum Kavanagh wrapped up the game in the second half late on in that one. This was a big 3 points for us, because we have been very solid at home. I think we've won 12 of our last 13 home games, and we've not really conceded too many in that time as well, so this was a massive 3 points for us. We also had a very disappointing 2-0 defeat away at Port Vale. First half, they completely ran all over us. Only really Richie Smallwood was interested, and yeah, really disappointing and frustrating from our point of view. We needed to be a lot better. We missed a penalty as well in the second half. Smallwood's spot kick was saved by Bantams. Again, the referee wasn't amazing in this one, but we were so poor in that first half, and losing away to the team that are probably going to go on and win the league, I don't think is also the end of the world. We also had a very frustrating 0-0 draw away at Accrington Stanley. Not a single shot on target. They've played 3 games since this one. They've conceded 11 goals. 4, then 3 in their last 3 matches. So disappointing that we couldn't turn this game into a win. Again, we're going to look back at the end of the season and think just 1 point from Accrington, Tranmere and Gillingham in that little run could potentially cost us. We also had a brilliant 4-1 win at home to Colchester United. Great way to respond after a couple of weeks of bad performances, really. A brace for Callum Kavanagh, another brace for George Lapsey, who was actually given the League 2 Player of the Month award for March. So fair play to him for that, but we absolutely dominated them. They'd only lost 2 league games, I think, in 2025 before this one, and we were brilliant in every single department. Could have even been at double figures. We were absolutely outstanding in this game. Compared though to Notts County, they currently sit 6th in the League 2 table. After 42 matches, they've got 19 wins, 11 draws and 12 defeats, scoring 62 goals, which is amongst the highest in the entire division, but have also conceded 43. It leaves them on a positive 19 goal difference and 68 points. Their last couple of matches then have been a loss, a win and a draw. So they were on a decent run of form. Now, over the last 2 matches, obviously back-to-back defeats for them. Recently, they had the 3-1 defeat at home to Salford City. Now, I watched the majority of this game. First half, Notts County were absolutely terrible. They brought on the likes of Jody Jones and George Abbott at half-time, and obviously Agent Matty Platt scoring an own goal in that one. But Salford were very good. Kelly Namai is a great player for this level, and they just had too much, really, for Notts County. He did pull a goal back through Dave McGoldrick, still one of the best players in the EFL, really. I think he'd still be more than good enough to do a job in League 1, if not bottom end of the Championship. At his age, he's an absolute absolutely outstanding footballer, and they've got a fair few like that. So we're certainly going to need to be on our A game. Unfortunately for Notts County on this occasion, they weren't on Friday. They also had a 1-0 defeat away at Colchester. Tyree Simpson scoring the only goal of the game. Just one shot on target for both teams in this one. And again, Notts County have dominated possession but haven't really created much clear cut. Colchester didn't really create much full stop in the entire game, but they got the job done. They're effective under the Cowleys, and I feel like when Notts play against these bigger sort of physical sides, they do tend to come unstuck at times as well. They also had a 3-0 win at home to MK Dons. Pretty much everybody beats MK Dons, so I don't think I was really surprised to see this result come through. Surprisingly, MK Dons actually had less possession, which I think you got to give credit to Notts County for that, but 4 shots not on target for the visitors. They are absolutely diabolical, so fair play to Notts County for just getting the job done. They also had a 2-0 win away at Newport County, a brace from Charlie Whittaker, and you look at the stats, it was total domination. Way more shots on target. Newport didn't even register a shot on target at home. Way more possession, more passes, better pass accuracy, more corners, and all that sort of stuff. So this was a great win for them. And they also had a very frustrating 0-0 draw at home to Crewe Alexandra. They should definitely have one, if not 2 penalties in this game, in my opinion. Crewe didn't really lay a glove on Notts County, who did definitely lack the clinical edge. Crewe not even registering a shot on target, but again, Notts have had way more possession. They've had way more shots, but just that lack of clinical nature, and I do think it comes down to Alassane Jatta. I've been saying it all season now. I'm not just pinning it on him, but I think he's a really, really bad finisher. You look at the amount of big chances that he has missed. Yes, Langstaff missed loads last season, but he misses way more, in my opinion. And when Notts are not creating as many as what they did last season, because they don't have the likes of Dan Crowley, Jody Jones has been injured for the majority of this season, no Aaron Namane, I don't think they've really replaced them players with significant quality. They are relying a lot on Dave McGoldrick at this moment in time, and yes, at times he's coming up with the goods, but you know, the guy's nearly 40. Before we do go any further though with today's video, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 100 likes as I mentioned at the start of today's video? That'd be massively appreciated. And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. What is your score prediction for this match? What would your starting 11 be as well? Now, I would definitely stick with the 3-4-2-1 formation. I don't really see at this stage in the season why we would be trying to change that. In all honesty, it's going to be very interesting to see who does start in the double pivot without Richie Small. The first time in a long time we haven't had our captain. This will be the first league minutes that he's missed all season, and first game that he hasn't started, I believe, in every competition so far this season. Maybe Stockport away once in the AFL Trophy, but I'm pretty sure apart from that he has started in every single game. I've done a video today over on the main channel talking about potential replacements, so go check that one out if you haven't already. And thank you all so much for 700 subscribers. In goal, I would stick with Sam Walker. Now, despite conceding 5 goals on Saturday, I thought he actually played quite well, especially in that second half. Made some pretty decent saves when they were shooting from distance. Maybe the own goals, you could argue if that was just a shot from a striker, he should be doing better with, but you don't really expect your defender to put the ball in your back of the net, never mind twice. So really, really disappointing, really frustrating, but definitely not a fault of Sam Walker. In terms of my back three then, at right centre back, I would bring in Callum Johnson. Obviously came on at half time on Saturday and played as a right wing back. I think he certainly plays much better at right centre half, and I do think we're going to need to be like how we played against MK Dons, where we've got a very mobile team, and I think you need somebody like a Callum Johnson in there rather than a Neil Byrne. I don't think we really need to worry about Alassane Jatta's height, because it's not really his game. He doesn't really head the ball, he doesn't really hold the ball up. And in the middle, I would bring back in Aidan Baldwin. Obviously missed Saturday through illness. Hopefully he will have recovered by this game, because he's so important to the way that we play him. It goes to show defensively we've been excellent. The one game that he misses, we then go and concede 5 goals. Yes, we had the red card and all that sort of stuff, but Baldwin for me, if he's available, definitely should be playing, and I would have him in the middle of my back three. And at left centre back, I would go with Jack Shepherd. Now obviously he scored the own goal at the weekend, and you see the way the Swindon players react. He's got 4 or 5 of them around celebrating in his face, and I'm sure he's probably watched that back many times and thought, right, I'm going to use that as my motivation to not concede another goal between now and the end of the season. I don't really understand why they celebrated like that. There were some Swindon fans saying that on corners and stuff he was getting wrestled to the ground. Well, that was Neil Byrne marking him for a start, so didn't really understand why they celebrated like that. And obviously it doesn't look great, it's not great sportsmanship and all that sort of stuff. But Shepherd for me, I would definitely keep him in for this game. I don't think it's necessarily been a great couple of games for Kieran Kelly. I think his passing's been quite poor over his last couple of appearances. I don't think Critchlow has been particularly amazing either, and I do think Critchlow might be a bit more important to play as a left wing back when eventually Jody Jones does get subbed on, because I don't see him starting this game, because I think he'd then have to come off after an hour, and they'd much rather have him be a bit more effective in the second half, but we'll come on to that in a moment. So as my midfield four then, at right wing back, I would stick with Brad Halliday. Now defensively, I thought it was all over the place in the first half. That young winger that Swindon brought on absolutely tore him a new one, but he comes away from the game with 2 assists and a goal. Hopefully though, he can get back to his best in this game, and if somebody like a Jody Jones or a Nick Cerullo's playing as a left wing back, then Halliday is going to need to be on his A game, especially defensively. In terms of my 2 holding midfielders then, at first I would go with Brandon Cayley. I personally believe he is the best replacement for Richie Smallwood. Now nobody in this squad is Smallwood. The closest we've had this season is Corey Evans, and obviously he left in January, understandably so, because he was always injured. But I think if anybody in this squad is going to do the job of Richie Smallwood, I think it is going to be Brandon Cayley. So he definitely starts for me. I thought he had a pretty good game as well on Saturday, and partnering him I would keep in Alex Patterson. Now he's a little bit of a doubt for this game, came off on Saturday because his illness did seem to be affecting him, but Patterson would also be my captain for this one. Now when Patto went off at half time, I wasn't sure who came out with the armband for the second half, but Patterson for me, if he's fit, if he's available, he absolutely has to be starting, so I would definitely keep him in for this game. Like I mentioned though, there is obviously some concerns about his illness and all that sort of stuff. And at left wing back, I would stick with Teo Adaramola. Now if Jody Jones does start and he starts on the right hand side, it does concern me a lot, Adaramola defensively, because I don't think he's great whatsoever. You'd never really see him put a tackle in. Going forward, he is pretty solid, and obviously we saw Critchlow play as a left wing back on Saturday in the second half, and don't be surprised if we do line up with that. But we're the home team, we've got to take the game to Notts County. If Jody Jones wants to run at Adaramola, we've just got to make sure that Shepherd also helps out, and they do double up on him, because goodness me, he's very good when he is on it, but hopefully he's not fully returned and he's not back to full match sharpness as of right now. So Adaramola for me would start, and let's hope that he can come up with another assist in this one. In terms of my 2 number 10s then, at first I would go with Anthony Sarsvik. Now it might be a bit too soon to be throwing him in for this game. Maybe you might wait until the Chesterfield game to start him. He might only be available for 60 minutes or so, because obviously he was out for around 6 weeks or so. He only got 15-20 minutes on Saturday, but I think at this stage in the season, 4 games to go, you've got to be playing your best team, and if you start somebody like a Walker, I'm not against that, but I don't think somebody like a Lapsley can really be starting in a game like this, because Sass just has that quality, and we saw what he did against Notts County last season away from home for Stockport. He's a very, very good player, so I definitely have him starting if he's available. If not though, you maybe do go Jamie Walker, and on the other side, I would definitely go with Bobby Poynton. Again, shame to see him come off at half time, but obviously understandably so, with the way that we were just trying to see the game out for 45 minutes. In the end, we did concede 3 goals with 7 defenders on the pitch, but Poynton for me, if he's available, has to start. Scored in his last home game, and I think he's been brilliant so far this season. As my striker, I'm not going to go Michael Mellon this week. I definitely would stick with Callum Kavanagh. Certainly answered my critics. Yes, he gets a first half hat-trick, and fair play to him, but he could have had 4. He maybe should score that chance in the second half, which he puts straight at Connor Ripley. But scoring a 35-minute hat-trick, and it's goals that we expect Callum Kavanagh to score, not in terms of the volume. I don't expect him to score a first half hat-trick every game, but in and around that 6-yard box, just sniffing them out. Goodness me, it's awful defending, yes, from Will Wright, but Callum Kavanagh still has to score them. And when we've had players like Tyler Smith and Ollie Sanderson, even Vidane Oliver leading the line for Bradford City, fair play to Callum Kavanagh. I think he's approaching maybe 20 goal contributions now in all competitions. Considering how poor he was at the start of the season, it took him until December to actually score a league goal. I still don't really forgive him for cupping his ears to Bradford City fans when he scored an open goal tap-in against Swindon, but it was nice. It was against Swindon, wasn't it, in the reverse fixture, but it was obviously nice to see him score a hat-trick on Saturday. I certainly think at home his style suits us more than Michael Mellon, who seems to get 30 seconds if he's lucky on off the bench. On the bench then for me, that would leave Joe Hilton, Neil Byrne, Romney Critchlow, George Lapsley, Jamie Walker, Tommy Lee and Michael Mellon. The players currently unavailable are Lewis Richards, Richie Smallwood and Andy Cook. So the players who miss out then through selection will be Colin Doyle, Jay Ben, Paul Huntington, Kieran Kelly, Tariq Wright, Clark Adore and Harry Ibbotson. In terms of a score prediction for this match, I think we're going to use all the motivation and frustration from that Swindon game. We're going to come out firing without Richie Smallwood. We're going to win this game 3-0. 2-0. Notts have had our number every single time we've played them since they've come back up into the Football League. Obviously, I think the first game, or it might have been the second game, maybe under Graham Alexander, was that game away at Notts County last season where we were 4-0 down by half-time. Last season they beat us 3-0 at home. This season they scored 3 goals in 4 minutes and beat us 3-0 at their place just before Christmas. We're finally going to get one over on them. Thank God they don't have Dan Crowley. Bradford City 3, Notts County 0. Let me know your thoughts down below.